Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren. In today's episode, I have Brandi. She is a pet communicator and a psychic medium mentor. Welcome, Brandi. I'm so happy to have you here with us this
Yes,
morning.
thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you.
Of course. So, kind of tell us a little bit about, I know we were talking before we started recording, but kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of why you got into pet communication and psychic medium mentorship.
Yeah, sure. So, I was at a very young age, like maybe like 10 or 12, I was really interested in psychic abilities or like the paranormal and like that whole thing, right? But I didn't think I really had a gift. I was just more like interested in it. And then when I was in my 20s, I actually had a profound spiritual experience that basically changed everything and made me realize I do actually have an ability. It's not just an interest. It was probably like a calling that I didn't realize. So what happened was my family and I were in my grandma's hospice room and she was about to take her last breath. And of course, like everyone's crying, we're about to lose the matriarch of our family. Like everyone's holding hands and we're all like standing around her. And as she took her last breath, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. And I had this like magnetic like pull in my stomach, like telling me to look above the bed. And when I did, I saw like these amazing colors that like I don't even think exist in this world. And they were forming a star and beating in and out like a heartbeat. And like in that 30 seconds or however long it was, I just knew that death wasn't final. I knew that I would be talking to her again. I knew she was going on to this amazing new place. I knew she was at peace. Like all of this is happening in a very short amount of time. And it was so profound. And at this point, I'm not really spiritual and I'm not really religious. And it was just so strong that I actually left the room. And my cousins thought that I left the room because I had been the youngest granddaughter, the youngest grandchild. So they thought maybe I couldn't handle like how sad it was. But I couldn't tell them what was going on because they're grieving and they're very. I'm like in this amazing space, even though I just lost my grandma. Of course, I'll miss her, but like they're very sad about it and grieving, and you don't know someone's like belief system. So probably took me like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years before I actually told them what had happened. We were all together at Christmas, and I was like, listen, this is what happened to me when Nani passed away. And nobody was surprised. Like, apparently, my whole mom's side of the family has psychic abilities. Like, my mom, my own sister, my uncles and aunts and cousins. Like, nobody was surprised. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, so I didn't think I could open up because nobody had ever talked about it, which is what I feel like a lot of people in society don't talk about it because they might think you're crazy or that you're making it up or whatever it is. So yeah, so that really opened my eyes to be like, okay, I guess this is like in my blood. But after the experience, I tried reading like a ton of books. I tried taking like these little classes and like nothing seemed to be working for years. And I was like, okay, maybe this was just like a one-time thing. Like, I don't know why that happened or like how I can develop this. So I actually gave up. And then my friend, who happens to be a life coach, she was like, did you ever look for a psychic mentor? And I was like, I don't think they exist. So I went online, of course, and I looked for one. I couldn't find one. But I had been going to a medium for readings. And so I asked her, like, is there any chance you could take me under your wing, like, and let me know kind of how you got started? So she decided to mentor me, and it was amazing. It was like 1 hour a month for 6 months. And then my abilities just skyrocketed. I could, like, contact spirit on demand. I could do readings for people. I could tell them to go away if I didn't want to talk to them. I had total control.
Right.
It was just amazing to see how someone who had already been on that path before me, like a book, you can't ask questions, right? If you're having like an experience or a class that's maybe self-taught or on video, you can't say like, hey, I'm having this experience. Can you validate it? Or have you been through something like this? So I did mediumship readings for years. And then I decided to become a mentor for other people because I just felt like this greater calling to help people who had been in my same shoes of like, where do I even get started? I know I have a gift, but how do I do this? And then fast forward a couple years later, where I am now, I only took like it was supposed to be a 1 month, like bi-monthly class, like however long you wanted to be in it to learn animal communication. I was only in it for like 1 week and found I could talk to pets. So I think it was just like, since I already have my abilities developed, I just had to like turn that channel on, and then boom, I was able to communicate with pets. So I do still do mediumship readings, and then I'm doing the pet readings as well as the mentorship program. So that was a bit long winded, but that is my story.
Oh, thank you for sharing all that. I was going to say I have a few questions because I feel
Sure.
like people that are listening, like if they have this kind of really pull towards animals, or even I should say pull towards just mediumship. I know my journey kind of started with mediumship. I have a very similar story to yours in the beginning. Like when my grandmother passed away, it was somebody that I kind of confided in that kind of showed me that I have gifts, and something that I knew for a very long time, and it was like somebody that I talked to. And then it was like, oh, she's not here anymore. So what do I do now? So it was more of like, and same thing. Like I think, I had a younger, no, I don't think, I know I had a younger cousin, but I'm not sure if he was there at the time when this happened. But same thing, she was on hospice because she was a survivor of breast cancer for like 7 years, but then had passed, it was her time. And I could just feel the room empty, but then I could see her spirit and I could physically see her. And I'm like, I kept blinking, and my mom's like, "Are you trying to cry?" Like, I was like, I know, I was like trying to see if it was real or not. Like, I kept blinking and it was still there, blinking and it was still
Oh,
there.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I physically seen her and then heard her say, "I love you." And you'll remember this experience. It was like, you'll remember, it was something along the lines of, you'll remember this experience when you need to. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? So then like I suppressed my gifts for a very long time, and then that same situation came back up when I was trying to like ask for something, and then I could just hear something, but it wasn't my voice. It was so weird. But at
Yes.
the time, I was like in seventh grade. So what would I have been? 12, 12 or 13 or something like that, like a teenager. Like, what's going on? Nobody, none of my friends had any of these experiences. So I was like, I'm not going to talk about it. Fast forward to today, it's like, oh my God, like that. And then like looking at my whole life, it's like I've always seen and heard the answer and I just didn't do
Wow.
it. So it's like, yeah. So the same
Yeah.
thing with pets. Like I don't call myself a pet communicator, but like when I'm around animals, I feel like I can hear what they're thinking and saying because it's not me. Like when I go to the
Yeah.
zoo, oh God, like I can't go to the zoo because I feel like, and my daughter likes to go to the zoo, but it's like I can feel their emotions and the sadness, and then like, let me out of here. Like
Oh, wow.
it was funny. I went there. I did go to the one in when we were in Texas, and I was talking to my husband because he didn't go with us. And I was like, I was by the tiger, and all I heard was, let me out of here. And I was like, oh my, and I like turned around, like, what was that? But it was the animal. So it's really neat that when you can feel like different, like same thing with like my dog, I know he's not feeling good just because of his, like how he's behaving, but he just stares at me, and then I can just feel that like I don't feel good. My tummy hurts. Like it's
Yeah.
like I know what's wrong. And the same thing with like when I feel like, oh, what's wrong? It's like, oh, it's this, it's that. It's like he's not physically telling me, but like his
Yeah.
spirit is telling me, like, I don't feel good. Stop doing this, or this is what's, whatever. Yeah. So if somebody is the same way, what would you kind of suggest to them? Like if they have signs from spirit, say, like what
Mhm.
are some of the most common ways that spirit communicates with us? Or if it's like they're an animal communicator, what kind of signs would they be getting or feeling around animals?
Sure. So I think the biggest like problem that a lot of people have is the trust. They don't trust it, right? Because we are so conditioned in our society to listen to logic, listen to facts and science. And so when we hear something or see something or feel something, we just automatically second guess ourselves because our society just like doesn't believe in this type of thing. There's no science behind it. There's nothing that backs it up. So if the biggest advice I can give is if you think, did that just happen? Did I just hear that? Did I just see that? You did. Because if you were to go outside and you're thinking it's hot out, like you want to then question yourself, like, is it hot out? Did I just think it was hot out? Like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't question it. You're just thinking. But if something happens where you have to question it, that means something happened. It's getting your attention. So yeah, so really cueing in, is that the right word? Like really going into like your senses, right? So your physical senses, your smell, your touch, your taste, your hearing, whatever you're feeling. That's your extra sensory perception, your ESP. So if you are hearing something that nobody else is hearing, or you're seeing something that nobody else sees, that means something is happening, and that's your abilities that are just like waiting to awaken. So just like how you said, like, so I will hear, I'm mostly clairaudient, meaning that I hear the messages, but it's my voice, but not my thought. And so it's like, I did not just think that. So it must be coming from this animal, or it must be coming from this, deceased loved one, because I didn't just think that. Now, people who I think they're an animal communicator, it's the same thing. Whether you're going to communicate with a spirit who's a human, a spirit guide, a loved one, an animal, it's all that same thing. It's cueing into those physical senses. And the biggest thing is believing in it, because if you don't trust yourself, you're never going to trust in spirit, and you're never going to trust in the messages that they're giving. So it's really that deep down trusting your intuition, trusting your inner guidance, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. Because if you don't have that trust, then you're never going to be able to take that next step to be able to fully believe and trust in the messages you're receiving.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like trust is a very hard thing, especially if it can feel hard, I should say. It shouldn't be hard, but it feels hard because of trauma or people lying to you or betrayal, or it's like, you don't really know what to believe. You don't know how, to trust. I often feel like there's a lot of people lately, especially some experiences that I've gone through, that they're like, I don't trust anybody. And I'm like, oh gosh, but we got a big trust in here, so it's like, if you can't trust your, like, it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like trust is, a huge thing, but you have to have it with yourself first. So it's like, you don't have to trust anybody else because you trust yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, and there's a couple times people would ask me questions, and I'm like, if you have to ask me that, you probably already know the answer, right? You just want my validation, but I'm not going to
yes,
give you my validation, because I feel like you need to just be like, because like you
yeah,
trust yourself enough. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that could be projections from, past trauma or
yeah,
childhood stuff. And I feel like that's the reason why I mainly started human design, because it's the way that I trusted myself. Like, I know for a fact that this is the way that I feel and this is what I'm thinking of and doing. I have to trust myself, even if nobody else trusts me. There's so many times that people would not trust what I said. And then I'm like, but I know that that's the truth and that's okay. Like,
yeah.
it's a matter of different perspectives. And then come to find out, sometimes I'm like, am I just envisioning this? Is this really happening? And then it comes out, especially during this amazing retrograde season right now. So lately I've been seeing more of like, I knew it. I knew it. Like, it's just something, that deep knowing that you had, that people are like, you're crazy. Yeah. So when going back to the animal communicator, what will kind of be some, like, I should say, besides obviously working with you, but what if somebody is like an animal, they're kind of getting into animal communication, what are some of the things that they can practice with, to kind of either open up that channel or kind of gain some more confidence in, like, this is what is happening?
Yeah. So if they actually go to my website right now, I have a free guide of 5 ways to communicate with your pet, even though you're not psychic. So you don't need to be a psychic to communicate with your pets, right? Like it all starts with like calming your mind, whether you want to meditate, whether you just want to get into that still space where your mind's not busy, and just sit with your pet and then ask them a question, something like, how are you feeling today? Or is there anything you want me to know today, or anything I can do for you? And once you get into that quiet moment and you start to either maybe see a vision, an image, or a symbol in your mind, or maybe you hear something, it's really that, like I was saying before, paying attention to those senses that something might come up, and then not questioning it, right? Then trusting what you received. And then you can also even like keep a journal, because maybe there's a pattern going on with your pet, like you said, like maybe they're sick at certain times. So kind of figuring out like the pattern of like, okay, they don't seem themselves today. They seem like really lethargic or they're not eating or whatever. And kind of putting that in a journal and then kind of looking at it like, okay, this was last Thursday and now it's again this Thursday or whatever it might be to see if there was something that might have happened so that you can kind of put those pieces together. But yeah, it really comes down to just like tuning in and knowing that they are so intuitive. And so their intuition is so strong because their minds aren't busy. They literally just love and trust and live. And so they're not thinking of like, I have to pay bills, I have to go to work, like they're not thinking of those things. So they're literally just like these lightest little beings that, are only here to really love and trust and to live. So, I mean, once you can quiet down, it's so much easier to communicate with them because they're already so intuitive. And so that's why I think there's also a lot of therapy dogs or therapy animals because it's not like, oh, let's train them. It's like they're already intuitive. So it's almost like you're getting them to get in touch with their intuition and that's how they become a therapy dog. So it's just like, just getting that quiet and we need to get that quiet as well.
Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with all of you spiritual rebels and fempreneurs. If you've been craving a space where you can build wealth, heal trauma, and rise alongside like-minded women, I got something for you to hear about. I'm excited to invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. This is a low-cost, high-impact group membership designed exclusively for spiritual fempreneurs who know they need accountability and support to create sustainable wealth, but aren't ready to dive into a one-on-one mentorship. In this membership, you'll get monthly calls, rituals, healing sessions, and workshops to break through your self-doubt and build confidence so that you can consistently sell your offers and make money. This is also a collaborative private Facebook community where you make lifelong connections with other women who are just as serious as hitting their goals. And my personal guidance as your intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer, ensuring you stay aligned and on track with your business goals. Plus, you'll get free access to all my paid workshops and masterclasses, along with exclusive VIP pricing for my one-on-one Voxer membership. This membership is all about helping you heal the sabotaging behaviors blocking your abundance and using your human design to create a business that feels amazing to run. Imagine waking up excited to serve your clients and knowing that you have the exact support you need to hit every single one of your business goals every single month. So if you're ready to rise and build wealth with a sisterhood of spiritual misfits, make sure you click the registration link in the description box. Right now, the investment is just $88 a month, but the price will increase to $197 a month. Join today to unlock exclusive rates and get access to next month's kickoff call. Let's get back to today's episode, but remember, your next level is just one decision away. Join the sisterhood and let's rise together.
I love that. See, I never knew that. I just thought people call them like their emotional support animals, which, I did know that one of the main reasons why you have dogs or pets, I should say in general, just it doesn't matter what kind of pet, it's because they are the ultimate like definition of unconditional love. Like if you abuse, not saying that you can abuse them or whatever, but it's like you could yell at them and then like 2 seconds later, they'll come and be happy. It's like, what? Like, like that is, you shouldn't do that. But like, sometimes they need to listen. I always joke about with my dog, I'm like, nobody in this family listens to me because my daughter doesn't listen to me. My husband doesn't listen to me. My mom doesn't listen to me. And he just like looks at me like, what do you want me to do? It's like, go, you need to listen to me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to have to start doing what you just said because I feel like it is a pattern. Obviously I notice patterns. And now that you say Thursdays, it always happens on Thursdays. Like it's always like when I work, because I usually record podcasts on Thursdays, like I'm recording this on Thursday. And I notice that I'm always every other month or every month I'm dealing with him being sick. So it's like, I truly think it's his food because there'll be time he doesn't like, to me, dogs love dog food, like, or their food. And he isn't the one that runs to his food and eats it.
Mm.
So to me, that means like there's some disconnect of like him not liking it. It makes his stomach, like upset. He does have a, sensitive stomach. So maybe that could be it. But like, I'm like, I should just go. I really want to get him farmer's dog. That's what I really want. But my husband's like, that's crazy. We can just eat that. I'm like, no, we can't. But he will, but stuff like that, he's like, oh, give it to me. Like, and he is a dog that loves food. So to me, it's like, I don't like my dog food. That's why I'm not eating it.
Mm.
Or it's hurting my stomach. And he must know that, that's why he doesn't eat it or whatever. But there'll be some times that he'll go for a couple of weeks of eating his dog food every single day. But then we're back to him throwing up. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, so I
something.
think that our human brain automatically goes to, if I was sick, it would probably be something I ate. So then that's what we assume would happen with our pet. But it could be something that like maybe he's nervous about something. And so his nerves were already upset and now he just ate and now his stomach hurts. So it might not be the food. I think our human brain thinks that,
Oh,
but
okay.
it could actually be something like, for instance, I had this one dog that wasn't eating, and she was a little bit older. She was like 12. So the owner was like, "Oh my gosh, she's not eating. Is she dying? She doesn't want to eat." And then hear that when I communicated with the dog, she was like, "Actually, my gums hurt, and I just need you to like soften my food up a little bit." So she started adding chicken broth, and the dog's eating fine now. So it could be something that like we are assuming, or that our human brain is thinking that's what it is, when it could be just like the simplest thing that we just need to like tune into.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, now that you say that too, he does like wet food, like softer food, because we always thought it was his tooth, but it's not, like pushing on a nerve, which is making his eye go all like his
Oh,
eye. But we took him to the vet and he has an inverted eyelid. So his eye always goes like this, or like it's watery because his eyelashes are scratching his eye. So
oh,
ultimately, they were like, he should have surgery. They'll flip the eyelid and all that stuff. But we're like, we'll just take the drops for right now.
yeah,
Like, that's probably like $10,000.
yeah.
So, like, to make him comfortable, I mean, it doesn't seem like it only happens usually when after he eats. So that could be it too. I'll have to see if
Yeah.
I try to like now he's like sleeping because he just threw up, but he
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, his belly, he's probably like, but it's crazy to me because when he doesn't feel good, what he'll do is he'll ask to go outside, right? And he'll lay in the grass. And to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, the grass helps him ground and he feels better. So I just let him usually like lay out inside. I mean, I'm in Delaware and it is pretty humid out. And he is from Louisiana. So he's used to, he's one of those hurricane dogs. My husband
Oh,
rescued him from the Hurricane Katrina. So like he's used to like, and he has tons of trauma from that, I'm sure. So, he's used to the heat and he likes to be out in the hot and like he just loves it, because he was, born and pretty much
mm.
grew up in Louisiana. So he's used to that hot weather. So, but I get nervous. I'm like, get inside. But he does not. Like, it's so hot out. And he's like, does not want to come inside. Like, I have to force him. I'm like, I have to go get him and bring him inside.
Aw.
Yeah.
And along with the grounding, I mean, it could just be like his happy place, right? Of like that is the heat, and that makes him feel better, makes him feel comfortable. Or it could be like, I need alone time. It's too much stimulation going on in the house.
Yeah.
I just need to be outside. So there's lots of reasons why.
Yeah.
Make sure that
Probably.
he knows that and knows to do it.
It's probably, and a lot of the times it's from my daughter. He likes to be outside. He loves her. He's probably the sweetest animal ever. Would never hurt like a soul. But I know he gets annoyed with her sometimes because she acts like, that's her like, mother. And he has
Aw.
like he'll just sit there and she'll be playing and she makes him sit there and watch her play and he's just sitting there and he's like looking around like I was like, I know he's annoyed right now.
Aw.
Yeah. He's so sweet though. So getting back, so let's talk a little bit about your psychic mentorship. Can you kind of walk us through like what it is and then if there's like a method that you use maybe to like develop your intuition or maybe steps to help transform your doubt into like confidence to help with
Yes.
your intuition?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mentorship program is 6 modules. And so every 2 weeks of 90 days, you're doing a new module. And it just how kind of how you were saying, it's really going on that like personal development journey to become more authentic, to learn who we are deep down inside, not live how society wants us to live. So the first module, I always tell people, like, it is not going to feel like you're developing psychic abilities because we're doing a lot of shadow work, because we need to figure out what our barriers are, what our blocks are, because we're not going to be able to communicate with spirit if we do have a lot of those traumas. So we need to figure out, do I need to do inner child healing work? Do I need to forgive myself for anything? Am I self sabotaging? So you're really learning all of those things. So that way, when you are on this journey, if things start to be like, why am I blocked? You can kind of have that in the back of your mind to go back and work on. Because, I mean, let's be real, right? Like a healing journey can be the rest of your life. It's not going to be ever probably something that completely gets healed, but we want to lighten that load as much as we can. But once we work on that, we just go through basically everything, like how to protect your energy, how to connect with cosmic energy, so we're not using our own energy to deplete ourselves during a reading. And all of my modules like work off of each other. So by the last one, we put everything together, and so we're able to then like do a reading if someone did ask us to do one for them. I think where I'm a little bit different is I customize it as well. So everyone needs to learn the basics. Like, this is what we're doing. We're learning about the clairs and the chakras and all of that. But if someone's telling me, I think I'm a healer, and then somebody else is saying, you know what, I think I'm a medium, then I start to give the healer more healing exercises. I'll give the medium more medium exercises, because we all have this ability, right? We're all born with our sixth sense, which is also our intuition. But then we also have like a unique ability that we can use it. Like, not everyone's an animal communicator, not everybody's a healer. So we're kind of figuring out what one person is, and then I'm customizing it off of what they're finding out and what feedback I'm getting from them. But yeah, everything's on video, because I hate whenever I'm reading a book and it's like, close your eyes and now do this exercise. It's like, okay, well, now my eyes are closed. So I make sure everything's on video so that they can, play it, rewind it, whatever. And we have bi-weekly live Q&A calls, and it's all in a group, because I feel like that like-minded community is what's lacking and what's really important. So I want to make sure that they're, having, like, sharing their experiences with each other, same struggles that other people might be having, especially the trust ones, right? So yeah, it's really intensive. And then they also have access to me Monday through Friday, because I want to make sure they're not waiting for the next 2 weeks to ask me a question. Like, I want them to ask me it right then and there. Because as you were saying with the trust, like, the more validation you can get, if you hear someone say, oh, I did that, or I had that experience, or, you say something to someone and they validate it, that's what's going to gain your trust as well. So it's really about that. But I do have a 4-step method to developing intuition. It's called the AFTA method. I've called it. It's AFTA, and that stands for ask, feel, trust, and act. So first, you want to ask yourself a question, because you want to get an answer from yourself, right? That's deep down inside, so you start to trust it. Then you want to feel the answer somewhere in your body, and sometimes it's just that download of like, I don't know where this just came from. I just know it without knowing how I know. It might be like a gut feeling, whatever it might be. Now, the trick there is that your rational brain will kick in 5 seconds, and it will start to get you to question, that's not what that is. There's no way that you're talking to a spirit. It talks you out of it. So you only have 4 seconds to feel your intuition. That's how quick it is. It's very instantaneous. It comes from a place of calm. It's not going to be anxious. It's not going to be ruminating thoughts. It's just that feeling. And then from there, you want to trust that feeling, because this is all about trusting ourselves. And then you want to act on it, because if you don't act on it, I don't know why you did any of the steps anyway, right? But then you can keep a journal of like, okay, for like maybe 3 months, this is what I asked my intuition. This is the action that I took. And then start to see how your life's starting to change. Maybe you have more energy. Maybe you are trusting yourself more. Maybe you're happier because you're actually listening to yourself deep down and what your passions are, versus how you've just been kind of like in the same rut and being stuck in your life. So it's really just this, and that's not the only way. I'm like not a guru, like this is the only way to do it, right? But that is what I teach my students, to try to really start to listen to their intuition.
No, I like that. I like that how you have a process to do it and you have steps to do it, because I feel like that's ultimately everybody, the way that they connect to their intuition and trust yourself could be different. But it's like you got to start somewhere. And it's like that is a good way to, I feel like that's a good way to start. I was going to ask you when you said there you could be a healer or a psychic. What do you think is the difference between them? Or me?
Yeah, so a psychic can be anyone that is able to develop and be able to take control of their abilities. So we all have what's called like psychic experiences, right? You might have walked into a room and got a bad vibe from it, or you might have thought of someone and later that day they call or text you, right? Those are psychic experiences. But when they're happening to you and you don't have control over when they happen, that's the difference between having psychic experiences and being a psychic. So when you can develop it and you have control over it, like I'm calling on this spirit right now. Now I'm done talking to them. I need them to go away. Having that control means that you're psychic. So I don't consider myself a healer because my ability just seems to be talking to dead people and talking to animals, whether they're here or alive, or sorry, here or passed away. So
Yeah.
like my ability is, even though I'm healing a human, right, by comforting them and grieving them, I can't really heal someone through my mind of like physically healing them or emotionally healing them. I'm more giving them like the comfort of the grieving. But I've had like a student, just to give you an example, who was an angelic healer. He was able to channel Archangel Saint Michael. The Saint Michael came through him. He was able to make this like healing ball in his hands and then throw it out to people that needed it. And of
Oh, wow.
course, at first, you're like, is this just coincidence that these people are getting better? But like after it keeps happening and you keep getting validation of like during COVID, he would pray for people that were in hospice and like that person went home and now they're doing fine. Or like the
Wow.
most recent was this little 11-month-old baby who had been in the NICU her whole life. He prayed for her for 3 days and now she's like home and doing amazing. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like when you start to get that validation, it really starts to be okay, this is actually happening. Like, I don't have that ability, so I'm not a healer, but I am a medium and I can talk to
Yeah.
the deceased loved ones, but he can't talk to deceased loved ones. So it's just like we all have that different ability.
Yeah. 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 Okay. I just wanted to, I just was curious because I feel like there's, at heart, I feel like we're all type of healers, but when you kind of gave that explanation, I started out calling myself a healer and realized that I think I do all three. Like I am a medium and psychic and a healer, but I feel like that's just because I wanted to tune into, and I feel like if you wanted to do that, I feel like
Yeah.
you would tune into being more of your healer side, versus, I couldn't always talk to, well, I guess I can always talk to dead loved ones. I started when I was in 7th grade with my grandma, so it's like, and I feel like even my mom, and I'm now starting now at doing this for God knows how long. I just realized I've always been able to talk to my grandfather, which is my dad's dad. And I forget how old I was, but I just remember him dying in 95. I don't know why I know that, but I just know that he died in 95. And I was never able really to be able to like get to know him. So it's just interesting now that like, and I can connect with my mom's or my dad's mom, which
Okay.
she passed away when he was 14. So
Wow.
I never knew, my mom didn't even know her, so
Yeah.
it's and I got all my abilities pretty much from my dad's side. And it's just so interesting because I always thought it was my dad's dad that would always come to me. But because I would always ask who, because all of us have a mean spirit guide. So I always asked it was just a masculine energy. I could just feel him. I wanted to be able to see what he looked like, but he never would show his face. So then I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out if I can actually physically figure out what he looks like, when he was human. Right. And so then I got a psychic business reading done. And this was earlier this year. And she said, "Oh, so I have a spirit here, and it seems like he's a great great grandfather." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's him. Ask him his name. Is his name is George?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's what he said." And that's how he comes across to me. "Hey, it's George." And I'm like, okay. So I only knew his name, and like his energy was really powerful and really protective. So I asked him one day, like I was in meditation and I was just staring out my window and I was like, I asked a question and all of a sudden there's a bird that flew and sat on the fence. And then I like looked at the bird and it was like masculine energy. So I was like, oh, okay. So like maybe that's him coming to me and maybe it has a message for me. So then I started doing all this ancestral stuff and figured out what he looked like. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it's like, now I don't know why I was adamant on figuring out who my main spirit guide was, but it's like, I've done the shamanic journey. I've done like the shamanic path, all that stuff. And I'm like, I wanted to connect with who he was. I don't know why I needed to, but then I realized, oh, he's always been around. It's always been the same energy that I thought was maybe my grandfather. But I realized since understanding and learning more about it that our main spirit guides are never somebody that we've ever met physically, like here, they are just in charge of us, and I was thinking, well, he's in charge of me. God, he needs to kind of step up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He can't interfere. He can just watch me like, what is she doing now? Yeah. So I just thought that was funny for anybody listening. I was like, I feel like that we all should just try to connect with our main spirit guide. They're probably looking at you like, hello, what are you doing? Why are you doing that again? They can't interfere because you're not asking for them. So now
Yes.
I ask for him like, hey, I need you to figure something out because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? That's so crazy. Okay, so you have your 4-step method. Now, can you kind of talk about maybe a little bit of like a few myths or misconceptions about psychic development that you often find yourself like debunking in your mentorship?
Sure. Yeah. So I think like the biggest myth is that it's scary. Like I think people just have that like thought of like we're dealing with the occult or we're bringing people back from the dead. Because there's these movies like Poltergeist and Exorcist and like these evil
Oh
spirits
yeah.
are coming. So I think people have that like natural fear of like what's going on, but I think that's a misconception because they don't really understand what spirituality is. Which ties in with the next one, which is that people think it's against their religion. And it's like spirituality and religion are two different types of thought. Like spirituality is my own path, my own journey of who I want to be, my own personal growth, to find my authentic self, and then to usually help other people, right? Is usually how the path goes. Where religion is like a group setting, you're worshiping a god or whatever you want to call it, but the end result is the same. You still want to be the best person you can be, and you still want to help other people. But people can be spiritual and religious, spiritual but not religious. Like it's just two different things. And it does not mean that we are conjuring up evil anything. It's actually a really beautiful thing, and people just maybe don't understand that. And I think another misconception is people think that like if I don't have this when I was born and it wasn't like, huge my whole life that I can't develop this. And it's like, no, like this is just like playing basketball or playing piano or whatever you want to call it, right? It's just like any other skill that can be developed. As long as you have an interest in it, as long as it's something you want to do, you can absolutely develop it because we're all born with it. It's just a matter of some people are naturally, they don't even need to develop it. It's just like so strong. Just like some people have a talent that like they don't even need to practice, right? Or you're someone that does need to practice. So, but it's there. It can definitely, no matter what your age. Like my mentor was like 65 and she had just gotten into this like 5 years before that. So it's like, and the client I just told you about, the angelic healer, he was in his 60s. So it's like you just don't know until you go on that path. And a lot of times spirit decides when you go on that path. So maybe something happens that's so traumatic or a huge challenge that comes about that starts to get you to look at spirituality. Or maybe there's just like this pull that's always been there that gets like brighter and brighter that finally you start to see it better. So I think any age, it doesn't really matter as long as you have an interest in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I was going to say, yeah, I feel like it's like spiritual awakening, multiple ones that I wasn't listening to the point that my life got so hard and dark. And I was like, well, I guess I got to do something.
Yeah.
It's like, that's usually the universe. Like, this is not what you came here for. So you're going to go this way. Right. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. you're getting off path. Let's get you back on the right path.
Or like have either had near death experiences, breakups,
Yeah.
kids, like whatever. It's something life changing that they're like
Yeah.
reevaluating. Is this really how I want to live the rest of my life? Because it's like so short, so short, so
Yeah.
short. So can you kind of talk a little bit about, I know that you talked a lot about, your psychic medium mentorship program. But can you kind of talk about maybe some daily practices people could do or spiritual hygiene that come in play with keeping our psychic channels open and clear?
Yeah, I think of the big one. I mean, of course, people say meditate, right? So as long as it's only like, it doesn't have to be like hours of meditation. Like, even my mentorship program, I only tell people to work on it 10 to 30 minutes a day. Like, it doesn't need to be this huge time commitment. So even if you just meditate for 2 to 5 minutes, like, just because you deserve it, you deserve to be in a calm space to just quiet those thoughts. And it really, people that go through the mentorship program, they also talk about how their life is just so much lighter and they're so much more positive. And that's really coming from just meditating a few minutes a day. I mean, it really has so many benefits to just having those couple minutes of calm. So I think that's a huge one. But another huge one is having a community. So whether you go to a sound bath healing, or you go to a group that maybe they're talking about spirituality, but just finding the community so that you don't feel judged, so that you're not crazy, so that you're around those other people that are having those same experiences. I think that's really important to maybe even do that once a week, once a month, whatever it is. But once you start to develop it, it's like anything else. Like if you're going to play the piano and you play one day, you practice for like 5 hours, but then you wait 6 months before you practice again. It's that same thing. You're going to lose all the skills that you just had. So if you just like every day do a little bit, you're not going to lose it. It's still going to be there versus like taking so much time off that you have to kind of like scramble to get it back going. So I think no matter what it is, and it could even just be like getting out in nature and going for a grounding walk, really being intentional on looking and hearing and seeing, using all of your senses of what's going on you in that walk and be intentional about it. That could even be a form of meditation. Just getting out of the daily grind and focusing, I think, can be a spiritual practice. But yeah, there's so many. It's just important to make it part of it, hopefully your daily life. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, thank you for saying that about meditation, because I feel like when people talk about meditation and it's like these meditation gurus and all this stuff, they're like, let go of those thoughts. And it's like, so like to me, it seems like we have a very similar way that we look at meditation. It's just calming your mind. It's not going, like letting those thoughts go. Because I personally feel like if you let those thoughts go, then what are you focusing on? You have to focus on what you're thinking about. So it's like, what are you thinking about that you can change? Or like, this the negative self-talk, if you let them go. Like it's like mindfulness. And I'm like, why do people act like mindfulness is like, it's like you just need to be mindful. I've seen this video of an old mentor, and she was like, I think of meditation different, which I do too. It's more of like sitting with your thoughts and like figuring out what you're actually thinking about. And to kind of, because if the mental chatter can be so loud, and if you're constantly just going on autopilot doing stuff, that's also very loud. So it's like you have to be, if you sit in stillness, and people, I know the people that cannot sit still, or like if they'll be laying in bed relaxing, watching TV but on their phone. I'm like, what
Yeah.
like they can't sit with themselves,
Yeah.
So I noticed that. I always challenge people when people tell me that. Like a couple of my clients that are having relationship issues, I'm like, so what are you doing when you're watching TV with your partner? Oh, I'm playing a game on my phone. And which granted, I'm like that too, because if my husband's watching something and I don't want to watch it, I'm not watching it. I'm going to play on my phone, but I'm still going to sit there. It's just, he's going to eventually know, oh, she's not interested in this. Like, I'm not like, and like, granted, like I get that. Like you have to, go on social media to like I always say, I'm just going to, detach for a moment. And I'm just going to like, he's like, you're not even looking at your phone. I'm like, I know. It's just the way that I can be expressing right now. So yeah, so I do know, or it's like I can just sit at my desk and just stare outside and just be thinking about stuff. I feel like that's meditation too. Like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because people are like, I can't meditate. I'm like, you've never sat with yourself? What do you mean? Like, you don't have to sit
Yeah,
and like do all this crazy shit and like you could
yeah.
just sit and ask yourself like how you are, how do you feel, like what's going on, like what do you need to know, like, stuff like that, right? So I'm glad that you
And
made.
along with the mindfulness aspect, right? Like if you're a runner or if you're a writer, like if you're doing something that's getting your mind off of your stress, that's meditation, right? As long as
Yeah.
you're actually having that break. And with psychic development, I think people think like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to meditate for like 2 hours. But we are just meditating for those 2 minutes. And then, like you said, and then we're focusing, we're doing an exercise that works out the psychic muscle or the pineal gland in your brain. So it's like, yeah, we're relaxing to get into that state so that then we can focus on an exercise. And I have about 75 of those exercises in the program so that you're really working out that muscle. And that's also why you don't want to do it that long, because it's just like going to the gym. If you haven't been there in 10 years, you don't want to go for like 6 hours, then you're going to be exhausted, right? So it's that
Yeah.
same concept of like, let's just get still for the minute, but then we're going to focus on something and work out the muscle.
Yeah. Talking about the gym, I said, like, my husband loves going to the gym. Me, I'm like, this is a whole ass chore that I have to schedule in my schedule. Like, I don't like it, because I feel like when I'm at the gym, a lot of the times it goes back to me being a projector. I'm not sure if you know much about human design, but I don't have sacral energy all the time. So when I go to the gym, it activates that, which activates my creativity, which is like, I'm trying to think about, well, I want to create this, I want to create that. That's how, like, I'll work out just to activate like my sacral center, So sometimes in the gym, I'll say all these ideas to him, and he's like, "What the, Lauren? We're supposed to be working out." I was like, "Yeah, but like I can't." So like I'm in my phone, like texting all these, like putting all these things like reminders. And so I said something, and I had an idea, and he's like, "When did you think about that idea?" I was like, "At the gym." He's like, focus, but his is more, he does it for his mental health. So he's
Yeah.
in recovery. So he has to go to the gym every single day. He doesn't go to meetings and he doesn't do any of that stuff. His focus for his, recovery is going to the gym. That is what he does. So I always tell people like it's always something different. So his is to get out of his mind. So he's not in his mind at the
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So it's funny how different, you can use different stuff. Like, yoga would be something that I would do for, I would get my mind off of stuff, or, like meditation. Like he meditates too, but his meditation is more like breathing. I feel like his mind is so crazy chaotic, and he's always thinking, overthinking, whatever, that like he has to do breathing stuff. So it interrupts. I feel like that too. I feel like that's another type of meditation, would be breathing too.
Yeah.
The breathing exercise.
Yeah.
I love that. Before we wrap up, I know we talked about a lot of things, but is there something that you are, besides your mentorship program, is there anything else that you want to talk about or tell any of the listeners? And where can people find you?
Sure. So if someone is like, I don't think I'm psychic, like this is like I'm the biggest skeptic ever, none of this is real. I also have on my website a free psychic test. And it's like a fun quiz that you can take that shows that we've all had these experiences. So I think that's the first step. If you don't know what a psychic experience is, you might think it's just like an everyday human one. Like I said before, that feeling of like, I just thought of someone, haven't talked to them in forever, now they just called me. Like that's a psychic experience. That's telepathy, or going into that room and like having that bad feeling. You're not getting a bad feeling from any of your physical senses. That's coming from the clairs. That's coming from extrasensory perception. So it's a fun quiz that will open your eyes to be like, oh, I have had these experiences. So I do have psychic abilities because we're all born with it. So they can find that on my website at brandyvan.com. So I have the pet one on there. And if you're more interested in the pets, or you could sign up for both if you're also interested in the psychic test, because maybe the psychic test will make you want to be an animal communicator. Who knows, right? It all ties in together. So yeah, they can definitely check that out. And I love hearing people's experiences once they do that test to open their eyes.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Brandi on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with somebody that you feel that will gain knowledge from listening. And make sure to check out, if you're watching this on YouTube, check out the description box below. Or if you're listening to this on any of the large social media platforms or podcast platforms or social media, it's going to be everywhere. Make sure you check out her links and go follow her on Instagram and Facebook and check out her website. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next week.